Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. You know, a lot of times living in the biggest and the baddest and the best country, you know, this modern Western life, we think that we're just the best that we've ever been, right? We're just getting better, except that's not true. Saw this little statistic here. I'm not going to go into detail because of the YouTube censorship, but did you know that the life expectancy of Americans is dropping sharply? Look at this chart here. Compared to, I believe it's, you know, like 11 other, big countries, comparable countries. You can see where it's just kind of taking a nosedive. Makes you wonder why that's happening, what's happened in the last, because this number's over the last couple of years. What's happened in the last couple of years that's caused that? Some kind of big genocide? I don't know. Has there been anything? I can't think of anything. My mind is a blank right now. I can't think of anything. I'm sure it also has to do with the unhealthy lifestyle that so many Americans have and promote. If you get online now, which it's crazy to even get online. I don't know why any of us are online. It's a good question. But if you get online now, it's now considered healthy to be extremely overweight. It's healthy to eat, 15 hamburgers for a meal. I mean, it's the massive morbid obesity is become normalized to the point that they're actually claiming that that's just as healthy to be that way as it is any other way. So it kind of makes you wonder why the Americans' life expectancy is dropping. I wouldn't be able to figure that one out. Other things that's happening in the news that has nothing to do with this. Food, well, what kind of has to do with it? We're segueing from obesity to food. Food is weaponized. I said the other day that the United States was trying to get a resolution passed at the United Nations that countries would sign on to not using food as a weapon. And only about half of the United Nations countries would agree to that. The rest said, no, we're planning on using it. I mean, I'm making that last part up, but that's pretty much the thing. But the thing is that food has always been used as a weapon of war. It absolutely always has. And I think that exactly what we're seeing now. I've been talking about it a little bit more lately of how the projections of food don't look good. And even though in America, we may not necessarily starve to death. I mean, that is, I think, on the table at this point. I think just about everything's on the table of possibilities, but we may not necessarily starve to death. But hunger around the world, especially in developing countries, will certainly trickle down and directly affect us in many negative ways. Well, rice right now is like at a 22-year high, I think it is. It's really high. And rice is one of those cheap staples. It's not that rice is necessarily healthy. It's not extremely unhealthy, but it's just a cheap food that's always used as a filler food. I mean, it's just one of those things in different cuisine, and especially in poorer families that they eat a lot of rice or things like rice, and rice going up, that's not a good thing. Another thing, grain. Of course, we're been kind of focused on this Black Sea grain deal with Russia and Ukraine and the Black Sea and all that kind of stuff. But there's also some weird things going on. Just a few days ago, over in Turkey, a major grain silo exploded. Caught fire and exploded. It was one of the big ones, their big one, right on one of their main ports. So this isn't just a grain silo that's, sitting out on someone's farm or whatever. This is a grain silo that was used to export grain around the world. They bring it into port, they fill it up in these silos, and then they transfer it from the silos to ships. Well, just yesterday, the exact same thing happened at a port in France. Their big grain silo at their port exploded. Kind of makes you wonder, I mean, could this just be a coincidence? I don't know, but if you've forgotten, 3 years ago this week, in fact, just like we're talking on the anniversary almost exactly, in Beirut, Lebanon, their big grain silo at their port exploded. If you remember that one, it looked like a nuclear weapon going off. Hundreds of people were killed, massive amounts of destruction. It's quite possible that was the that final catalyst thing that kind of threw Lebanon now into they're having horrible financial problems because of the amount of destruction. Is there a pattern here? Is this all just a coincidence? I mean, grain is volatile. We have to admit that. I have to recognize that grain does catch fire or does explode because of the dust and the heat and the gas. And it is volatile. But it is also strange that 3 years after the, Beirut, Lebanon grain explosion, now we have one in Turkey and we have one in France. Right in the midst of this Black Sea grain deal and potential hunger around the world. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It may be legit. It may not be legit. But it's definitely appears that we're seeing things kind of like... There's just also a lot of explosions lately. I mean, here in the United States, I listed the other day several, like a paint plant and a plastic factory and some other one. There was just another one, I think, yesterday in California. Some kind of scrap metal depot thing went up in flames. There's all kinds of explosions in other countries that are strange. Some of them are probably directly related to the war between Russia and Ukraine. And others, it's just, we hear about them and then there's never any word of whether it was completely accidental or was there some kind of terroristic, attack. But there does seem to be that there's a lot. This is 5th generation warfare. I mean, that's what it is. It's unconventional warfare. I am agreeing with many people I've seen online, whether they just be experts or, people like me, content creators pontificating, that say that we are already in World War III, that World War III has already started. We're not to the conventional stage where you see large armies shooting bullets at each other, but the war has already started. I think I tend to agree with that one. Speaking of that, yesterday, strangely enough, several countries made the announcement that they are battle ready for war. NATO, they actually put out a video yesterday showing how they're ready. They're ready to go to war against Russia. They're battle condition ready. The United States, Russia, Poland, North Korea, Nigeria, Israel, several countries yesterday made this strange announcement that we're battle ready. Our condition is ready for war. So that's happening. Now, will we end up seeing a major war over the next few months? It's very possible. Yesterday it was also some expert in Chinese affairs believes that China will invade Taiwan next year. Just that's the year that's going to happen, next year. Of course, next year is an election year for us, so that would probably affect that somehow. But also, there's something else that's kind of creeping up. As much as we've talked about, well, what's the next pandemic? And I'm sure there is going to be one, because right now, as I said yesterday in a video, that they are developing the vaccine. Probably shouldn't say that word. They're developing it before they even know about the actual disease. Apparently, they're calling it, X, the X vaccine, something like that. They're developing it. In other words, they're creating the vaccine before they even are aware of what disease they're creating it for. It's crazy. But anyways, aside from that, the old one, the one that we had 3 years ago, the numbers are going up. A lot of big cities and regions are reporting week over week increased numbers of 30 to 50%. Here's Texas and New York. We're seeing, 8,000 hospitalizations, and the next week 12,000 hospitalizations, and the next week 15,000 hospitalizations nationwide. So we're seeing an increase. Will we see measures creep up this fall? Will they tell us, oh, there's some new variant, or it's mutated with this one, and now we have something even worse and we got to lock down again? I don't know. But, it is, the numbers are increasing, and there seems to have be more talk, more warning, a little bit more fear. It's like they've let it die down enough. They let everyone kind of forget about how ridiculous things were, 1, 2, and 3 years ago, to where now they can, they could start something new and get everyone terrified and like, oh, it's way worse than it was before. It's terrifying. You got to lock yourselves in your home. We're going to do it for climate change too, and we're going to do it so that we can help the Ukrainians, because if you lock yourself in your house and mask up and put bubble wrap all over you, it'll help the Ukrainians win against the evil Russians. I mean, it'll be something like that, I'm sure. The point is that we're seeing, it's just things happening. It's the game of chess is moving forward, folks. It's incremental at times, but it's moving forward. And don't allow your cognitive dissonance that everyone, at times, we all fight it. It's not like that someone has it and that we're immune to it. Everyone has to fight this cognitive dissonance. Everyone has to fight this just kind of, becoming numb to what's going on. Things are moving ahead, and sometimes it's a slow pace, and other days it seems very rapid. But most certainly they're moving towards that point of collapse, of a new world order, of global wars, and just a major upset of our lifestyle. We are in a, I believe, I heard someone the other day call it like a 2,000-year cycle, that every 2,000 years our planet goes through a massive cycle. Our societies, our civilizations go through massive cycles. And I think that we are in that stage of that. And we just have to prepare for it. We know it's happening. We know it's going to be really bad. We don't know how bad. It could be like really, really bad, or it could just be really, really bad. I mean, we know it's going to be bad. So continue to get ready for it. Make sure you're as stocked up as you can be. Make sure that, you're talking with your family and going over ideas and what can we do about this and how do we handle this if this happens? What do we do with our cold food if the electricity goes out? What do we do if we can't get to the store? What do we do if we can't get gasoline? What do we do when things get so expensive that we just can't afford them? How do we cut back? How do we downsize? How do we circle the wagons and pull ourselves together? We need to do that as individuals and families, but also as groups. I believe in my heart that God is calling the remnant. I mean, that we're seeing that. I'm seeing that. And I know many of you are. Every day almost, I hear stories of people that they feel that God is waking them up, that He's calling them to group up. People are moving here. People are moving in other parts, eastern Tennessee and, northern Arkansas. There's other places that people are kind of congregating together in a really strangely organic way. And then you ask them, every one of them say, well, it's because, the Father told me to do this. I think it's all for a reason. Some of you may think it's quackery. That's fine. It's your opinion. You're wrong, but it's your opinion. Things are happening. We have to take it serious. We have to get ready, because we are I think we're well into that lane, that path. I don't think we're going to be able to turn this one around, folks. I don't think there's any turning the ship around. I don't think an election is going to matter. I don't think it is, unless God and His providence and His grace just decides, okay, I'm going to hold off and wait a little bit longer before we move things forward. Other than that, I think we're well down this path. And we just have to buckle up and get ready for the ride. And that's about the best that we can do. Folks, you need to be getting your houses in order and preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.